Today, this morning, we will start with the future of workforce development, challenges, and opportunities, and to discuss how we can collectively create a more prosperous and resilient future for generations to come. Please welcome to the stage, everyone, Dr. Yvonne Thompson and our esteemed panel.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let's try again. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Have you all had your coffee and ready to go? No. So we have got an incredible, not only an incredible topic to get through in 20 minutes, but we have an incredible panel. So I am not going to linger too long on the actual introductions. And what I will do, I will ask each of my speakers to give just a 1-minute introduction of themselves. I'm going to start off with Special Advisor Minkara. If you can just give us, I know it's tough, but 1 minute.
Of course. Thank you, Dr. Ivana. And can everyone snap for me so I know how? Okay,
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so introduction, 1 minute. I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm a colleague, I'm a neighbor, I'm an introvert, I'm a troublemaker. I love math. If you ever want to make me happy, feed me chicken. I love the color green. I used to be able to see. I'm a woman, I'm Muslim, I'm blind, I'm a person with a disability. I'm very proud of it. But I'm also the Special Advisor on International Disability Rights, where I lead the U.S. government foreign policy on disability. So I introduce myself this way because I'm more than just my title. There we go.
Woo! Okay, let's next go to
Well,
Deputy.
that's an impossible act to follow. I will start with, of the choices earlier today, I would have picked the Statue of Liberty.
Oh.
The Statue of Liberty, because so much of what this city represents, and I work for the people of the city as the deputy mayor for housing, economic development, and workforce, so much of what this city represents is what I've spent my entire career really trying to advance. I've worked for the last 3 mayors, and I'm so fortunate to be able to work on issues of economic development and housing security. I'm the daughter of first-generation immigrants to this city, and what I like to believe is that in the day-to-day work that we do in city government, that it's really that lived experience, that set of struggles that allows me to be not just a decent policymaker, but the type of change maker that hopefully tries to uplift the lives of every single New Yorker across the 5 boroughs.
Ooh, another round of applause, please. Mr. Aguado.
Perfect said. So good morning, everyone. I'm Jorge Aguado. I'm an Argentinian coming from Buenos Aires. I'm an industrial engineer, and on one side, I'm the general partner and founder of a VC fund, and on the other side, I'm co-founder and CEO of the Future Co that I'm going to be talking about. Then I try to be a good person, a good husband, a good father, and hopefully trying to have my life working for the rest of the people.
Wonderful, wonderful. Another round of applause. Okay, so just so that you know a little bit about me, I'm an entrepreneur for nearly 50 years. I'm a grandmother, a mother, advisor to government, support women in business, and I'm a disruptor as far as the positive disruptor as far as the equality and diversity arena is concerned. So today I want to jump straight into it. I know we don't have a lot of time, but let's see what we can do. Special Advisor Minkara, how can the international community better support an inclusive economy, integration framework, representative and responsive to all needs of all groups in society? How is the US strategy advancing in this regard?
So I want to answer this through the disability inclusive lens and through my work, but I want us to take a step back. So wherever I travel, I always face the following narratives. 1, vulnerable population. Oh, I hate the word vulnerable. I'm vulnerable. Why? I'm not vulnerable because I'm blind or disabled. I'm vulnerable because the system and society is not accessible and does not think of us. That's number one. Number two, oh, you're blind, you're disabled, something wrong with you. You need to be fixed. No. The system, society needs to be fixed and made more accessible. Let's break down barriers. I've had a leader of a country turn to me and say, Sara, I wish someday I can cure your blindness. And I turned to him, I was like, I wish someday you can actually create a world where I can exist as a blind person and I have no barriers. Third narrative is disability. Okay, you want to make it accessible? That's costly, that's a burden, that's an add-on, that's a special thing. No, it's not a special thing, it's not special needs. When you break down barriers and you actually include people with disability, it brings value, helps the GDP. It's a cost in society when you don't include us. These are the narratives that drive the policies that are still created. We see AI, digital economic transitions of policymaking all over the world that's not thinking about us, that's not including us, and that's not being made accessible. Until we change that, until we disrupt the narrative, until we get policymakers to really see us from a point of we need to include the 1.3 billion individuals in this world with a disability, we're still going to be left behind and it's going to hurt the economy. So our work has been, let's try to insert mainstream disability into conversations like digital economic framework agreements, AI development, climate transitions, and it's not quick fixes. When people are like, oh great, we have employment quotas. Sorry, those are technical fixes. Are we really truly understanding the barriers that persons with disabilities face in their life journey so they can fully participate in the economy? I don't want technical fixes. I want us to have the difficult conversations. I want us to create shared responsibilities, and I want us to build capacity so we get to a point where we say nothing without the disability community.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much for that. As I said, we've got a huge range of topics to cover. So we're going to go over to you now, Mr. Aguado.
You can tell me, George.
Oh, okay, Jorge. You said Jorge earlier. How can the international community better support an inclusive, oh no, sorry, I'm doing the same thing. In your experience, apologies, what is the role and significance of a community building approach in addressing poverty across rural areas?
Okay, thank you. So from our perspective, the community building approach in order to reduce poverty in rural areas is the only possible way in order to do it in a sustainable way. Beyond my experience at the Future Co, in other private companies and as a public official in Argentina, data analysis support this view. Over the last 70 to 80 years, we have seen that modernization has done a significant stride reducing poverty. We have taken it from 50% of global population to the 10% we have now. But however that, we see that has been done only in urban areas, having China and India with most of the reduction being done there. And instead, rural poverty have seen nothing at all of reduction. We have now over 550 million people that is poor in rural areas, accounting for 80% of the global poor population. So, and it's not that there hasn't been investment there, but definitely we haven't seen impact in rural areas. So from our view, we need to try to break down this trend. We need to change the way we approach rural communities, from going from a top-down approach in which you just simply put infrastructure and then you put it and leave and never return, to a community-based approach in which you can take in consideration the culture, the needs, and the desires of their people, in a way that you can give services very holistically, that you can work giving all the services in order to tackle poverty in a multidimensional way. And that gives you also the possibility to change the view of seeing the communities just as merely beneficiaries to being part of the solution. The solution puts the communities at the center, and that gives you the possibility to take in also in consideration a gender equality view, conservation, adaptation of the environment, and also decent employment, to do a co-creation process with the people of the communities in order to sustain the operation, to ensure the sustainability and also the adoption of what you're doing there, and beyond that to formalize the implementation. And I'm not talking just about financial formalization. I'm talking more of an emotional formalization. At the Future Co, we think that when you take a community-based approach, you can make that the people of those communities start feeling again that they are the owners of their own destiny. And luckily, besides being a very young company, we are seeing it that it's possible.
Amazing. I mean, there's so many questions there, but unfortunately, we don't have time for questions. So I'm going to run straight over to Deputy Mayor. Now, I would like to say to you, in case you hadn't noticed my accent, I'm from London, from South London, not quite Cockney, but South London. And our Mayor, Mayor Khan, is going to be here this afternoon. So I hope you're going to be in that session, and then we can have some real discussions going on. But in the meantime, as economic recovery progresses, it's vital to ensure equitable access to opportunities. What steps is the city taking to address disparity in housing, job training, and workforce participation, particularly among marginalised communities? I mean, that's so apparent across most cities, so I know it's a big question.
This is true, and it's certainly been our core mission since day one. When we came into office 2.5 years ago, we inherited a city that was still reeling, of course, from the impacts of the pandemic. We had lost 1 million jobs. We had double-digit unemployment for Black and brown communities. And we had communities and people and families who were struggling with a lot of pain and loss. You fast forward 2.5 years later, we've regained more than 1 million jobs. Very importantly, we've brought down the rates of Black and brown unemployment by 30%. And we're taking some very bold steps to tackle a housing crisis that has gripped this city for way too long. How did we do that? We did that by ensuring that we had the people of this city, the diverse and beautiful communities of this city, front and center of our rebuilding efforts. We made sure that we were rebuilding the economy by nurturing traditional industries, but also those emerging industries that provide real opportunities for the type of benefits and growth to individuals and families that had been shut out of opportunities in previous recoveries, whether that's in the green economy, in life sciences, in tech. We made sure that we were focused on small businesses, providing the type of access to capital that has been out of reach for too many. We connected New Yorkers to jobs by meeting them where they are, in communities, bringing resources, using the purchasing power of government to make sure that those contracts resulted in jobs for New York. And I also think that we have launched, or in the middle of what is quite possibly the most ambitious, most bold and progressive set of housing reforms to reverse what has frankly been a pretty racist set of zoning barriers to housing development in this city. And why did we do all of that? We did all of that because we knew that the mission wasn't just to recover from the pandemic. It really was to ensure that this city, like many other cities across the globe, could thrive in its wake, and that we didn't just crawl out of our struggles, that we were really positioned to take a great leap forward. That continues to be the mission in all the work that we do. I know the same is true for London and so many other cities, but given the concentration of population in cities, it's critical in our mind to tackle these challenges of workforce opportunity, housing opportunity, the global climate crisis, to tackle them in tandem and not in silos.
Okay, carrying on from that, how are you collaborating with urban leadership and the private sector to better leverage resources to create long-term pipelines to socio-economic development?
It starts with a recognition that
Sorry,
government...
can I just add,
Yes.
in particular with women?
Of course, my favorite topic. It starts with a recognition that government can't do it alone. We're fortunate in this city to be blessed with a business community, civil society, and not-for-profit sector that has always, time and again, through so many crises, stepped up to work in partnership with government. A major example of this is Women Forward NYC. We launched several months ago. It is a more than $50 million initiative, more than 40 different programs to really ensure that New York City is the most women-friendly city on the planet, with specific strategies centered on economic mobility, on health, and on public safety. And we're doing that in concert with the private sector, with philanthropy, with amazing not-for-profits. And I think it is a model for how we tackle other issues on workforce development, on housing, because none of these issues can be overcome if it is just being tackled by one sector alone.
Fantastic. I'm going to come back this way now.
Okay.
Jorge, looking at Mozambique as a case study, how is FutureCo working to uplift and address economic challenges? How are you working to deploy the necessary resources and capital to reskill a community and to train the workforce? It's a big one.
Big one, but I'm going to try to answer it in a ChatGPT way. So let me give you at first like the picture where we're working. So it's a community in Mozambique. It's almost 1,000 people living there, 216 families. Their size is 50 kilometers square. So you have a lot of people very scattered along the way. And instead of giving you some fun facts, let me give you some awful facts over there. So you have multidimensional poverty of 88%. You have people without birth certificates or IDs, 700 out of 1,000. You have only 6 people with a decent job. The nearest hospital is 55 kilometers away. And the formal minimum wage is $120 a month. So second, let me tell you what we have done so far. So we have been working at that community for a year so far. We have done an investment of $2.15 per person per day, equal to the international poverty line. We have completed, and it's been operational, all the communitary services of infrastructure and social services, from a health center, solar electricity, schools improvement, digital classrooms, transportation, internet connectivity, and so on. We are working in educational programs, in food security, in family agriculture, decentralized water wells, housing improvements, and much more. But the good thing, and a third part, what we're doing in order to create jobs and to increase their wages. So we are doing 3 big things in order to create employment. The first one is the people that we employ at the communities. So as I was mentioning, for us, we need to stay and maintain a continuous support at these kind of communities. So we have now a team that lives at the community that is formed by 23 people. 17 of those comes from the community. While we were building all the infrastructure, we hired also another 15 people from the community in a temporary way. But now we're also starting to create and selling services to others abroad the community in order to employ more people there. 3 examples. Handcrafts. So we're doing artisan packaging, and we're selling it to a Brazilian jewelry company for them to use it to give colors. Or in the digital economy, we have a contract with an AI company in Argentina, and we are hiring another 5 people in the community in order to do image identification. And at least, and it's not that we are going to be hiring everybody in the community, but we have a contract with a wholesaler grocery supplier in Mozambique in order to sell them 2 tons of lettuce a week. And that gives us the possibility in order to have every family working a part of the farm in order to sell us the lettuce, and allowing that every family has, as a whole, and in a continuous way, a minimum wage salary.
I'm going to have to interrupt you there, because I know that a special advisor will not forgive me if I don't ask her the last question with enough time for her to answer it. So last question, and again, big topics for such a short time. What is the role and responsibility of the private sector in advancing efforts to diversify the workforce, stimulating further business opportunities in return, and how are you working to advise them across these sectors and industries to reframe practices?
So let me be very quick and give a few stats. On average, globally, the unemployment rate for persons with disability is 70%. Number 1. Number 2, in the developing countries, only 0.5% of microfinance lending goes to disabled-owned businesses. Number 3, there's a study done on 1 million websites, 98% of them were not accessible. Number 4, 27%, only 27% of free trade agreements have any provisions around disability. And I can go on forever. So the private sector can play a huge role. We need to make sure private sector is breaking down barriers and bringing in accessibility when they're investing in a space, in a country, in a community. I don't want to just hear green economy, I want to hear green and accessible economy. I want to hear the word accessible across every single thing that the private sector and the community does. I want to make sure that we also understand that we can be breaking down barriers for persons with disabilities if we bring in specific language on disability within trade agreements, for instance. Also, employment. It's not just quotas, it's more than that. We face barriers when we're applying to jobs. AI is becoming a big barrier for us. We face barriers when we get into the job, getting accommodations, accessibility. We face barriers with culture and narrative. We face barriers across every single journey of our employment cycle. Let's break down that barriers. Let's journey map. Let's understand. Let's be a partner. I don't want to hear the word help. Sorry, you're not helping us. You're helping yourself by bringing us forward. Let's partner up with each other. Let's break down the barriers so people with disabilities are at the table from all aspects within our economy and our society.
Wow. That is a powerful and a great note to end on. Would have loved to have been able to take questions from, because I can see you all brimming. I can see you all raising your hands already, right? Right? Unfortunately, we can't. So please help me to thank my panel who've given some great answers in a very short time to some incredibly important and big topics. Thank you very much.
Thank you.